Shalom, welcome everyone. It's Rosh Chodesh Elul. By me, it's just turning into base Elul, um, Tafshin Pei Daled. So I wanted to just give a share to inspire us a little bit into the avodah of Elul, and without all the fire and brimstone, which doesn't anyway do anything to us in this generation, and just give us a little bit of a deeper insight, a more sophisticated maybe insight into what we're here to do for Elul. So I'll just tell you a little story that happened at the Shalom Zocher that we made, which was about a month ago. And one of my friends came along, a good friend of mine called Yona Weiss, who I was one of the first people I met when I came to Asia Torah, and he told a story of me of how I would be sitting. I said how we met, and then he said, "No, no, that's not how we met." And he said how we met, and he told the story of how I was sitting there in the base medrash, practicing reading. When I came to Torah at 21 years old, I'm now 45. When I came to Asia Torah at 21 years old, I didn't know Aleph base. And I came to Asia Torah and I found out that we had a chiyuv of Kriya Shema and a Birchas and Mazon, and I couldn't do it because I just couldn't read Hebrew. So in my kind of like how to say akshan in English,
Stubborn.
in my stubborn way, I decided, I'm going to learn Hebrew. So I would say Kriya Shema. Kriya Shema would take me in around 20 minutes or something every day, twice a day. And benching, I made myself eat bread 3 times a day. And then I benched, that was, 25 minutes, half an hour a day, or just sit there, breaking my teeth through the words. And so I gave that story over at my Shalom Zacha in front of it was a busy house. There was a couple of dozen people there at least, and everyone's like from grew up from birth, whatever you want to call them. No Balatubas really where I am, very few, and just very like normal mainstream people. So I tell the story, and they were just, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe what sorrows, what you went through, how hard that was. And then I just I turned around, it just popped into my head, and I said, you know what? It was 100% worth it. And I wouldn't want it any other way. And people looked at me like, what? And I said to them, you know why? Because I'm not being held captive by a 6 years understanding of what Torah and Hashem is. For that alone, it was worth not knowing Aleph Base until I was 21. The fact that I'm not running with paradigms of Yiddishkeit from when I was bar mitzvah. It's a tragedy. I look back at how I understood reality a year ago, and I'm like, wow. In fact, when I look back at the things that I wrote a few years ago, I feel they need to be rewritten, and that's how it should be. That's mamash how it should be. Yeah, if your take on reality, on Hashem, on Torah and mitzvahs is the same today, I'm not going to say as it was yesterday. That's extreme. Even maybe a year ago, but definitely a couple of years ago. Yeah, then you're not. It's something you have to be working that out. We need to be moving forward. That's what I call this shit growing up. So what's that about? So I wanted to just bring there's an interesting the Indian of when Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe that you're going to say Pakoid Pakadati, that you're going to tell the Yidden Pakoid Pakadati, which is a bit like it's like a code word for Geula. Yeah, what's this Indian of Pakoid Pakadati? It's a very strange, like that's the code word. When you say that, all of the pasuk is it's in Shemois, Gimel Tes Zion. Says Leich Asafta Ezikna Yisrael, go and gather the Zikna Yisrael, he says to Moshe. V'amarto Lehem, say to them, and Adonai Elihei Avoseichem Nirelai, that Hashem, the God of our fathers, of your fathers, appeared to me, Elohei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Lamor, saying, Pakoid Pikarati Eschem, you will Pakoid Pikarati, he translates that as I've paid attention to you. Ve'es ha'asui lechem b'Mitzrayim, and what's being done to you in Mitzrayim. What's this inyan of Pakoid Pikarati? Okay, another thing that I want to mention, which is quite mind-blowing, is a gematria that I don't usually bring gematrias, but this is literally a mind-blowing gematria. Okay, we've got three madregas or three bechinas of our avoida. We've got bein adam la'atzmoi, bein adam l'chaveroi, and bein adam la'makom. And bein adam la'atzmoi, getting clear on who you are, what you are, that allows you to enter into bein adam l'chaveroi. And bein adam l'chaveroi, meaning getting clear on the fact that another human being is a metzias, is a segula, or a necessary step for being able to appreciate that the Ribbono Shel Olam is a metzias, that he's real. Without bein adam l'chaveroi, without appreciating the reality of another human being, you can't appreciate the reality of the invisible, silent creator. Impossible. So a person who doesn't appreciate that another human being is a metzias, and he looks like he's got a big, strong avoida, yeah, that avoida is not avodas Hashem. He's still lagging behind. Bein adam l'chaveroi in Kabbalah is they talk about it as being the kli that's makabel the bein adam l'makom. Because without bein adam l'chaveroi, without another human being absolutely real to you, even more real to you than yourself, there's no way that the Ribbono Shel Olam can be real to you. No way. And just as a side point, as an avoider, you can take that. I feel that a very good avoider, just as you'll extrapolate this into your own matzav. You know, when you park your car, yeah, and there's like two spaces, and you park your car in a way that you there's no one there, but you just made it that space isn't available now for some guy who might turn up. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Being makpid on things like that is a tremendous segula to get real with bein adam l'chaveroi. Being doeg for the human being that doesn't exist, that he's not there, you don't know who he is, you might never see him, nothing like that. Like another avoider, another funny avoider that I think is very helpful is when you're in the mikveh, yeah. If let's say, for example, you have a cold shower, yeah. Before you step out the shower, reset the handle back to warm. So the next person who comes in isn't going to get a shock with cold water. Those kind of avoiders where you're doeg for a person who you don't know, those are very, very good avoiders. Or like another example, if you live in an apartment building, yeah, if you see a trash bag, somebody put their trash bag out their house. If you guys live in houses, but if you see a trash bag outside someone's house and you're walking past it, just pick it up and throw it in the bin. They'll never know that you did it for them. You don't even know whose it is particularly, whatever it is. Those kinds of avoiders really help you get real with the reality of another human being. This is to the side. So now, what is tshuva? I'm going to bring all this together. Bear with me. What is tshuva? So, show me. Let's see. So, did I say 7:45?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to catch the. Sorry, man. I must have said it somewhere else. Sorry. That tshuva. See, there's three options for tshuva. The first option of tshuva is thinking about the Aveira. The second option of tshuva is thinking about myself. And real tshuva is thinking about Hashem. Now, they're madregas, okay? And just because thinking about Hashem is the highest level of tshuva, that doesn't mean that the lower levels of tshuva are not also heilig and important. But the first level of tshuva is actually thinking about the revoltingness of the Aveira. And that isn't particularly helpful. That really, the way my Rebbe speaks about that is it kind of gets you schmutzig. To actually think about the averas that you've done is not a particularly good idea. Okay. But if that brings you to the next level where you feel that you just haven't been the mensch that you should have been, then it was worthwhile. It was worth something, because feeling that you're not the mensch that you should be, that you haven't performed as well as you should have performed, that's a madrega. That the Rebbe speaks about that in Perek Yud Zayin of the Tanya. That is a madrega where you feel that you just this kind of behavior is below you. It's not of your. It's passionate. It's not fitting for a person like me. This kind of behavior. Okay. But the ultimate level of tshuva, which the Rebbe speaks about, the ultimate Rebbe speaks about in Perek Kavav, is where he says like this: and for this, he needs to take this doesn't just happen to you, this kind of tshuva. This is the kind of tshuva of Elul which you really need to do consciously and proactively. Making kavias itim and a fitting time be yishuv das lisboinen begedulas Hashem asher chateloi, to think, to meditate upon who you will fight it against. And we've said before, it's the difference between a man being horrible to his wife and thinking to himself, wow, this is really below my dignity to act like this. And a man who turns around and he says to himself, wow, my wife deserves so much more than this. That's real tshuva, because that's being toshev to the wife. That's returning to the relationship. It's returning to the one that you did against. It's not about me. It's not that I didn't perform. It's that she deserved more than this. And that's what tshuva is. The Rabbeinu Shloilem gave me all of these koiches. He gave me this whole matzav. He gives me life that I hold is absolutely infinitely precious. And I should be giving it back to him. And I'm not. And that's a problem. That's tshuva. When we're thinking about to whom we will choter against. So now, these three psukim, listen to these three psukim. There's ve'ahavtu es Hashem Elokecha, love the Lord your God. That's bein adam lemakom. That's the highest level. Then there's ve'ahavta le'reacha kamoicha ani Hashem. That's bein adam lechaveroi. Yeah? And then there's anoichi hu moiche p'she'echa lemani. This is from Yeshio. I am moiche the averas, your peshoim, how to say that? Pesha, like your intentional averas, yeah, for my sake. They've all got the same gematria. They're all 907. Love the Lord your God. Love your fellow Jew. And I will erase your averas. I will bring you back in tshuva. And that's the progression, is that Elul is the beginning of anoichi hu moiche p'she'echa lemani. That's the beginning of the process where Hashem starts to scour, starts to be me'oire in you. That's the whole bechina of Elul. When there's this, it's not stun, the whole thing of Elul, everyone feels something different, Elul's coming, yeah? It's not just a social convention, something's different, Elul's coming. That's really something different is happening. And that's why we feel that Chodesh Elul's just like, Rosh Chodesh Elul is just different to like Rosh Chodesh Tavis. It's a different thing, everyone knows that. And that's really what's happening, is Hashem is activating this tshuva process. But what's the tshuva process? And this is, we'll get back to pakoid pakadati. Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. Yeah, ani ledoidi. What does it mean to grow? Like, remember we said at the beginning, like we're not being held captive by our 6-year-old understanding of Yiddishkeit. What does it mean to grow in Yiddishkeit? See, we need to grow. The Sitra Achor wants to grow. The whole of reality just wants to grow. Yeah, everything wants to get bigger. When you've got a company, Yeah, like Google, it boggles my mind. They're worth like $1 trillion, and all they want to do is just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Everyone wants to just get more and more and bigger, and they want to take over more stuff, and just like fungus. Like that's just the way the world works. So in the film world, not in the film, I don't want to point fingers at anyone. Our avoida is to grow in hasagas of reality. What does that mean? See, that can be the tamura, I have to say to it, the exchange can be growing in how to learn Torah. Not growing in Torah, but growing in I'm learning to learn. I'm learning how to learn the Torah. Now there's a level up that we call steiging, yeah, but that's not what we're doing. That's not what it's about. That's a tamura. How's it a tamura? A substitution for the real growth. What's the real growth? The real growth is understanding what reality is understanding who Hashem is, or more to the point, understanding who he isn't. That's what real growth is. And that's ani l'doidi, because as you get that clearer and clearer, you realize more and more that you don't exist separate from him, that you're not something independent unto yourself. That's really what growth means in Yiddishkeit, that you become more and more cognizant of the klalius, of the klal of reality, of the fact that you're a detail in his reality, not that you're some kind of independent existence unto yourself. That's what growth in Torah is. And that's why Elul is ani l'doidi. Why? Because as we're growing in tshuva and our mind is expanding and we're getting clearer and clearer on who the Ribono Shel Olam is, or more to the point, who he isn't, we end up more his. Ani l'doidi. I belong to you, Ribono Shel Olam. I'm yours. When we say my, we can say my car, or we can say my country. Two very different things. When I say my car, I mean that I've got a life and my car is a detail in my life. When I say my country, I am a detail in my country. When we say Elokai, my God, we're referring to the second. It's not my God, as in he's my pocket God when I need him for, a shidduch for my kid, or, some panas, so I call on him. Or I want to feel close, or I want to feel meaning, then I pull him out my pocket. Yeah, that means he's a detail in my reality. But my God means, like Lahavdil would say, my country, meaning I belong to him. That's ani l'doidi. What's that got to do with pakoid pakadati? This is really, really beautiful, really special. And it shows you what a tipa of dioi, the difference a tipa of dioi makes, a tipa of a drop of ink, the difference between a reish and a daled. Now, where it says by Shema Hashem Echad, it's a big daled. Yeah? Everyone knows that. A big daled. What does the Balatorium say over there? So I printed it out. The Balatorium says, Echad, Dalas Gedoyla, Loima, it's a big daled, say to you, Shetem Lechichu, B'Shemaim v'Oretz, B'Dalad Rucha Isa Oila, that you should be mamlichim in the Shemaim and the Oretz, and in the four directions of Oilam. V'Gam Shloi Tit'e B'Reish. You shouldn't get it confused with the Reish, because then you'd be saying Chaz v'Shalom Shema Hashem Acher Chaz v'Shalom. So the Baal Turim says they made it a big, Hashem made it a big daled, so you shouldn't be toyer and say acher. Hashem acher. Should say echad. Now there's another pasuk in Shemois that says ki lo yishtechave la'eo acher. Don't bow to another god. Ki Hashem kana shemoi elkano. Don't bow to another god. The same Baal Turim says v'chein reish. And that race, by the way, to La'el Acher, to another God, is a big race. He says the reason why it's a big race, v'chein reish loy tishtachav la'el Acher, hareish Chodesh loy titeh bedalas, that you shouldn't mix it up with the dalad, because then you would say, don't bow to the one God. It says, don't bow to another God. And if you mix up the resh with the dalad, you would be saying, or a person would be saying, don't bow to the one God. So listen to the difference between a resh and a dalad, that little drop of ink on the back of the resh is the difference between them. The Gemara says it's the difference between destroying worlds and creating worlds. If we mix up if we say Hashem Acher, Rahman al-Atzlan, or if we say El Echad, Rahman al-Atzlan. So the Dalad and the Reish is everything. Pakoid Pakadati. What would happen with the word Pakoid if you mixed up the Dalad with the Reish? Hefka. Hefka. Pakoid and Hefka are the two opposite things. Hefka means it's ownerless. Pakod, like hamafkid, means it's owned. You with me? That's geula. Geula is when we, as Yidden, understand that we're not Hefka. Hefka, by the way, is Loshan Apikoirus, sandwiched between an Aleph and a Samach. Pei Kuf Reish, Hefka, Apikoirus. The Koitcho Yud. Gorgeous, beautiful. Thank you, Eliezer. Thank you. And that's, by the way, the Inyan of Dira B'Tachtoinim. Dira, Dalad and Reish. The Dalad with the Yud and the Reish with the Hay. Is we have to show that really the Acher and the Echad is all Echad Mamash. That's our avoider here. To show that Elohim Acherim is not something separate from Hashem Echad. Same Inyan. That's the whole point of the Yid. But that's the whole avoider of Yiddishkeit, is to transition from being hefka to being nifkad. And that's the avoider of Elul. And as we go weiter in our hasagas of the Rebbeinu Sholem, as we learn the right Sfarim, when we speak to our friends, conversation should always be about Hashem Echad. How constantly move the conversation into Inyane Kedusha. I'm not talking about talking in learning. That's also okay. But read Choivus Levavos or read the Messiah Sharim and discuss it with your friends. Talk it out. Like that. That's the growing. That's really where the Ikka, from my experience, the Ikka growth and the hasagas of the Rebbeinu Sholem come from Sichas Chaveirim, where you've learned it from the Seif, or you've learned it from your Rebbe, or wherever you've learned it from, and then you're like, and you talk it out with your friend, you try and give it over to him, and then he says, no, it can't be like that because of there's this Tzemach Tzedek that I saw, and you're like, and you look it up, and then you think more, and then you start to develop a tshuka for what's really going on, and then Hashem Mamash shows you reality, and then you just took a step closer to him, a step closer to the Ani Ladoidi. And then we get to Rosh Hashanah, where we make the actual hachlota of Oil Malchus Shemayim. After understanding it and feeling it more and more, now I make the declaration that I'm makabel oil malchus shemayim. That is Kriya Shema, that is Rosh Hashanah, and then by the time we get into Shemona Esrei, which is Yom Kippur, we haven't even got anything left to say, because if you look at the words of the Shemona Esrei, that's not your shopping list. That's his shopping list, is Baruch. It's his shopping list. Your tefillah has been replaced with his tefillah. That's really what we're trying to do. That's really our avodah here. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, should be to a very strong Elul, and to grow up as opposed to out. Growing up, that's the avodah, Bezrat Hashem. Okay.